From beating up other animals to showing weird things to other males, here are 15 interesting facts about camels you might not know. Why camels show this to other males. The ship of the desert, or whatever you want to call them. Camels are weird little things. Just take this for example. What in the world is that, and why would they show this to other males? What's even more surprising about them is that they like to eat cacti, even though it hurts their mouth. On top of that, these daredevils are the sort of animals we don't have much use for anymore. That's to say, we have dirt bikes and jeeps to get across sandy regions these days. So now these animals are even used in camel wrestling. How does that work, you ask? Well, keep watching to find out. Camel eating cactus. We all read that camels are the ships of the deserts as kids and that they store water in their humps, but what else do we know about them? Not much. Did you know that they can eat thorns? Now, why didn't they teach that to us in school? They need to get water from any source they can, so eating cactus might be a good thing, but there are so many complications to that. It even hurts them to eat cactus thorns. However, they're little daredevils and they don't mind the pain since they have a high pain tolerance. Moreover, they have a papillae structure that helps them chew a cactus so that their thorns don't poke them too much. These structures are made of the same things as nails and that are paired with their strong jaw and teeth. They grind cacti enough so that it doesn't hurt too much. Camels also rotate the cacti while eating them so the needles slide into their throats vertically rather than horizontally. Evolution saw that they find cacti really delicious, so it gave them a really hard top palate. Have you ever seen a camel chew from side to side? Well, the reason is that they're not trying to have a sword fight in their mouths. Pretending and deceit during love. Don't be surprised if your perspective on camels changes after hearing this fact. Despite their calm nature, they have bursts of anger too. In fact, a UAE scientific journal shows that they can even be deceitful. Even the scientist was surprised to see such weird behavior. Most other animals don't pretend. When they need something, such as a mate, they go for it. But sometimes male camels will play hard to get. All this started when a farmer started hearing distress sounds at night and couldn't understand why his camels were so noisy. So the researcher recorded much of the nighttime. Then they found out that many camels would pretend that they were sleeping next to a female. They would stop chewing and even ruminating and just wait for the female to sleep quietly. They would then break this false sense of security by trying to forcefully make love with the female right there. Much of the time, the females wouldn't accept it, and they fought back too. Finally, after too much force, they would look back and bite them in the front of the neck. Completely justified, right? But here's the twist. This would only happen when they were first kept in farms under the control of human beings. Usually, this energy would be placed into finding food, but since they get their food on a platter easily, the males needed to get rid of all this free energy somehow, so naturally, they chose violence. Camel humps don't have water in them. The humps on a camel are very distinguishing, and you probably think they're wobbly since there's water stored in there. But oh boy, you'd be wrong. The hump doesn't have water, but it's the reason they can roam around the desert without dying. Inside their hump is a whole bunch of fat. They can metabolize the fat in the hump to get some nutrients. One of the byproducts of burning the fat is water, which then promptly enters their bloodstream, ultimately saving them from dehydration. This sort of shrinks or melts down the hump. This part of their body also helps in temperature regulation. At night, the temperature can drop by a lot, but by concentrating the fat tissue on the back hump, these creatures can minimize the heat insulation effect. All the unwanted heat is dissipated to the rest of the body so they don't freeze to death. During this time, they also slow their metabolism, which helps them reduce their temperature to even lower than that of a human. The extra heat is dissipated when it's nice and bright outside and the body remains cool. Pink organ in their mouth. The one-hump camel is definitely the freaky one in the desert. They have some of the weirdest love-making practices you can imagine. For example, Arabian camels can blow up a portion of their soft palate with air, and then hang that disgusting little organ out of their mouth. All of this to attract the ladies? Are you even sure that the ladies like this? To be honest, even scientists are very confused about how camels puff up the diverticulum. Whatever case it is, they blow up their gross hanging out of their mouth and start the courtship. First, they make a gurgling sound using their spit. If you think that's gross, just wait, because it only gets worse. Next, they rub the spit on their own neck to mark their territory. This also happens to be where the pole glands lie, which produces a foul brown goo. Brace yourself, because even pee is involved here. Then their tails are doused in their urine. All of this is done to attract the ladies with their female attracting pheromones. Whatever you do, do not go near a camel during its courtship process, or even if it's in heat. Even then, the females aren't impressed. If their disgusting meatball trick doesn't work, the females will base their choice on the status of the male. The one with the stronger combat power will win and get the last. Generally, 10 to 20 partners will fight with each other. Sometimes camels hurt their inflatable organ quite badly, and in some cases, they might even have to be removed. It doesn't affect the body much, but it does affect their heart. This reduces their chance of getting a girlfriend, and they probably will die alone, and it will be the farmer's fault. Camel milk as a delicacy. Have you ever had camel milk? With so many cows and plant-based milks available, you might not have thought about trying it, but it has some crazy benefits. If you're a dairy fanatic but you suffer from lactose intolerance, then camel milk might just become your best friend. This intolerance comes from a shortage of lactase, the enzyme that digests milk sugars. Thankfully, camel's milk has much less of this sugar, making it more digestible comparatively. Can you believe that this milk has been used to treat diarrhea caused by rotavirus for hundreds of years too? Much like every delicacy, this doesn't come without leaving a dent in your wallet. Camels only produce milk after giving birth, and since their pregnancies last for 13 months, production time is a lot. You might not be able to make it a monthly habit, but having a glass of it once in a while might be beneficial for you. Their ancestors. Okay, here are a few facts we all know about camels. They have humps, they're huge, and they're found in the Middle East. Now let us show you how far these animals have come. The first ever camels were known as Protolopus, and they emerged about 40 to 50 million years ago. And the most shocking part? They're the size of a rabbit, and they lived in what is known as South Dakota. 5 million years forward, and they're the size of mere goats. But now they have more traits of camels and llamas. One of them, called Stenomylus, doesn't even have the iconic camel toes. In fact, they walk on their tippy toes. The ancestor of the modern camel was found 7.5 to 6.5 million years ago. Unfortunately, the last ever native camels vanished along with the mammoth saber-toothed cats and many other megafaunas. If you go to a museum with a Stenomylus skeleton, you might just confuse it with a dog skeleton. Camel wrestling is a thing. One thing about humans is that they'll always find a way to entertain themselves. In the desert, they find out that they could make camels fight, and that is where camel wrestling started. Actually, in Turkey, they're trained to face each other in very stressful situations. Camels are pretty calm animals. Why would any desert animal spend so much energy fighting another of its kind? But during lovemaking season, things get restless, and that is when the competitions are held. Since female camels aren't even allowed at the events, the male camels get very riled up until the anger builds enough for them to fight. At first, camels were super useful to people, carrying around crops like figs and even serving as transport. But we have roads now, and the camels are more a status symbol. So people who were fond of them started raising them, and boom, it became a local tradition. At this point, it's just a reason for the locals to get a little tipsy and bet on the strongest one. Thankfully, they don't hurt each other because their mouths are covered, so no biting. If an event like this happened in your city, would you go? Camels don't sweat or pee. Camels have extremely dry fur, so most people thought that they just didn't sweat. But the truth is far from that. Camels do have sweat glands that are distributed everywhere under their skin. In fact, their sweat removes the same amount of body heat as humans. Their fur does a lot more than just look pretty shiny. Usually their coat is about 4 inches thick, which helps keep the heat out and insulate it more than anything. Moreover, its color is light enough to reflect off light energy and reduce heat transfer. The fur is so good at reducing heat because it uses all 3 heat transfer methods to disperse heat. Now, you would know what these 3 types were if you paid attention in physics class. Even the trapped air in their fur serves as a thin material to minimize the transfer by condition. Since breathing also takes some water, their nasal passages conserve water by not losing much water vapor during exhaling. Their nasal passages are pretty dry, but there's no need for you to check that yourself. Since water conservation is so important to these mammals, even their pee is highly concentrated. Did you know that they can even drink water more concentrated than seawater? Even the plants they feed on are more on the saltier side. Well, let's just hope they're not prone to high blood pressure. Camel spitting. We explained why camels need to conserve water and how much, but these are very complex animals. They have a bad habit of spitting a lot. Doesn't that make a lot of saliva too? The truth is camels don't really care about that. They're super territorial. Even though they might look calm, they can get really aggressive, and when they feel threatened, they will spit at each other, sometimes even at humans. We're not done yet. They'll spit up whenever they're excited too. You can only guess what they're feeling at that time, but you can guess when they're about to spit at you. Their cheeks usually puff up, and they vomit up saliva and stomach contents. So technically, it's not just saliva, it's also a lot of their digested food, all mixed together to create an awful odor. Like cows, camels are ruminants too. This means they can regurgitate food back up just to annoy others in the herd. Weirdly enough, this behavior is learned. If you have a camel in captivity, try not to teach it this disgusting habit, or you might just end up doused in foul vomit. They like music. Even in the desert, camels know how to have fun. Other than cows, they're one of the animals that know how to enjoy music. In 1911, Irwin conducted an experiment where a gramophone was played around a zoo to many different animals. Of course, some of them didn't care, and some of them acted hostile. But the camel? These creatures were very pleasantly surprised by the music and wanted to rub their face against the instrument. How cute! Moreover, the Bedouins have been known to sing to them just to get them going. In fact, there were special camel drivers' chants just to get them to walk faster. And the result? Well, it worked! A camel owner once brought a camel to a festival, and people thought it was animal abuse. But the woman said that they had no idea what they were talking about because the animals actually love listening to jazz, or even drums and bass. So if you ever want to steal a camel or two, just play some tunes and you'll see them walking towards you. But you didn't hear that from us. Camels hold grudges. Camels and humans share a lot of qualities. One of them is holding grudges. Sure, humans do it more efficiently and frequently than them, but who knows how well camels remember other people's doings. A camel who's just been injured by someone will take his merry time to take their sweet revenge. If you find a camel targeting you specifically with kicks and bites, then think long and hard about what you did. Wilfred Thixer told Arabian Sands that it's all in how you treat them. Then he gave them an example of a camel owner whose camel was attached to her like a dog. Sometimes it would sniff at her and show affection. But these animals have the same IQ rating as an 8-year-old, which gives them a very good understanding of many emotions. Sometimes they can be hard to train because they're typically undomestic. But thanks to their intelligence, they can remember a lot and even remember those who caused them pain. Their name. The word camel is an Arabic word meaning beauty. While at first glance, beauty is not what comes to one's mind, camels are generally graceful and big-hearted creatures. In the United Arab Emirates, the annual Al Dhafra Camel Festival sees thousands of camels compete for the beauty contest title. Built for the desert. Being the ships of the desert, one expects camels to be immune to the harsh climatic conditions of the desert. We've seen that the camel humps have no water in them, so how do camels manage to survive? Firstly, apart from their capability to eat thorns such as cactus, scientists discovered that camels have oval-shaped red blood cells. While the normal red blood cells are biconcave discoid in shape, the oval-shaped ones in camels help continue blood flow even in the body when water is scarce. Additionally, camels are sandstorm-proof. They're capable of shutting their nostrils to stop sand from getting into their nose. They also have small and hairy ears that keep sand and dust away. Their eyelashes come in sets of 2 and 3 eyelids that help keep the eyes sandproof. Have you ever tried walking on sand? How difficult was it? Did you sink? Camels are equipped with large, flat feet that prevent them from sinking in the sand. The thick pads on their knees, chest, and skin protect them from the hot sand of the desert. Camels aren't as slow as they appear. While camels appear to be moving in slow motion almost every time, they're actually pretty fast. If need be, camels are capable of running at speeds as high as 65 kilometers per hour, which equals the speed of a racehorse. When walking, camels can go as fast as 40 kilometers per hour, which is quite impressive compared to the human speed of 3.1 miles per hour, or even a cow's 4.5 kilometers per hour. Camels are much more aggressive than they look. Though they generally love to keep things to themselves, these massive creatures can become quite aggressive, particularly during the mating season. Male camels are known to fight, and the scars on their body are enough proof. They are capable of kicking in circular motions. These kicks are powerful enough to rupture ribs and other internal organs of the victim. Armed with 34 teeth, camels have been known to bite, lift, shake, and then throw other animals on the ground when agitated. Annually during the lovemaking season, it's been reported that 15 to 20 humans end up being victims of these bites. In one similar case, an Indian man in 2016 had to run for his life when his own camel ran out of control. 25 villagers then rolled into action for a total of 6 hours to get the camel under control. So be careful before petting any of these massive beasts of the desert. Alright, comment down below if you've ever had a risky camel experience. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Forever Green, and we'll see you in the next one.